was a hypo, and I'm like, welcome to Under Two Capes. I'm Jared. I'm here with Robert. What's up, brother?
Yo!
And today we are talking about actually two things. So we're talking about Marvel's Superman ripoffs like Hyperion, Sentry, and such.
I'd say X-Speed. I think that's the more generous term.
Yeah, exactly. But we're also going to talk about the Superman trailer. So let's talk about the trailer first.
Oh my gosh.
So here's the thing. Anyone that's watched this show for a while knows that I've been very critical of James Gunn's Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. This trailer kind of won me over a little bit.
Yes! About time!
As soon as I saw that shot of him shooting his heat vision and spinning, I'm like, nope, that is totally cool.
Yep. We've never seen that happen.
Nope, that we have never seen that happen. And it's like, and oh my gosh, that Lex Luthor is scary. Good, but
especially
scary.
that bit, the like, whoever raised you, I'll kill them too.
Yeah, and the part where like expand about how they're attacking the Force of Solitude. He's walking, even as the blade comes by his face, he's like just not bothered.
And then of course the whole they chose him. They deserve everything.
Yeah, and it's like it's more of like, and we also have the first time Superman addresses Luthor in this. It's really, really, really good. And a lot of the power stuff is like really dope. The shot of him punching, doing the teeth coming on the camera, which I know upsets some people.
I know, but it's like Superman. First of all, let's make this clear. That is still Superman holding back.
Yeah, I got news for you, Grace Randolph. Yes, I'm going to call you out. That was Superman holding back.
If he wasn't, he'd take the guy's head off. And no, just because his teeth were knocked off does not mean he's dead.
Exactly. And it's like with it was cool. Of course, yeah, I'm going to give you this. The costume didn't bother. Not even the trunks bothered me that much on this trailer.
Yeah. And yeah, even Lois on that ship, I'll say this. One, she's a military brat, so she would understand how to fly certain things. And two, Terrific would make it simple for others to have to use it in case he needed a civilian to get people out of the way.
Well, a military brat doesn't necessarily mean you can fly a spaceship, but I see what you're saying there.
But we know that's a Terrific created ship who probably would make it easy for someone to utilize.
Here's the thing. How do we know? Because remember, this is just a trailer. It could be early in the movie. She's like crashing, trying to get the hang of things.
Yeah, for all we know, we can see her like, whoop, sorry. Whoop.
Yeah, exactly. But when I see it, I'm just like, okay, this should have been like an early trailer, not the final trailer.
To be fair, final trailers are usually where they put a lot of the more story beats into it.
That's true. But
it's really cool. The stare down between Guy and Superman was great.
Make you move, Big Blue.
Yeah.
And people are like, is Superman gonna punch him out? And I go, no, save that for Batman. Please save that for Batman. It will be a waste if you do it on Superman.
Oh yeah, he's not gonna one punch him. He'll probably just glare. They're just gonna glare. I'm positive.
And there's one moment here where I'm like, wait a minute, because in the trailer, Superman is in the middle of a battle in like the alternate dimension, and he's fighting someone that's shooting with heat vision and has long hair. Now, yeah, exactly. That was my thought. I'm like,
could that be to be fair, Hell was a genetically created being who was meant to be Bizarro. What if that's Ultraman under the suit?
If it's Hell, again, because as you guys know with me, I will take any reference to the new 52 that I can get because that was my era. But if that's the twist, my God, well, because it's also in Gunn's wheelhouse because he's using an obscure character.
And it will still allow him to utilize Bizarro at a later date.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it wouldn't confuse with the old Ultraman thing, which, there you go.
Yeah, but I'm positive that's just a name, and eventually they'll probably one day have, real Ultraman be like, yeah.
If they were to do Forever Evil, they can just say that, Gunn was like, because he has like a pocket dimension, so he probably looked at the multiverse worlds, saw Ultraman say, that's kind of catchy.
And it's an evil Superman.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, James Gunn making Hell in My Life Is Yours. Yeah, because that is something
I can't think of anyone else with long hair that would have
and
heat
white
vision.
skin. The guy also had white skin, so I'm like, wait a minute here.
No, I doubt they'll call him Hell. I doubt they'll call him it, but it'll probably be all but except name.
Wait a minute. What if this is all linked to the whole either trick or not trick of Kryptonians being
That's true.
sent to conquer?
That's true too.
Because there's so many ways. I'm sorry. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, hello.
Yeah, there's a way it could work.
Like, wow. I didn't expect that to be that, like,
intricate.
Not really intricate, but it's like that. If that's true, that is a deep ass pull.
Mm-hmm.
But that is fantastic. And the overall, again, tone of the movie from the trailer looks good. It's very balanced. It again, there was like one like joke in it where I'm like, that's kind of out of place. Like where Superman goes, I'm not doing important stuff.
Yeah, but we don't know the context.
Yeah, so I'm again waiting until the movie comes out. But so far, that's the only thing where I'm like,
but even Superman can be dry.
Well, yeah, and also here's the thing: people are forgetting Superman has made jokes before, even in Man of Steel, so he has had humor before.
I know. All right, where's Flash? What do you need him? Do me a favor, Clark. Lose a sense of humor. Do us both a favor, Bruce. Buy one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then
I love that line. I love that line.
Yeah, he says, I think people are overreacting with the Mr. Traffic Superman line. Like, yes, it's cheesy, but it's also Superman. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like,
Superman's a dork. He's a dork.
It's something he would say. It's something he would say.
Yep, again, he's a dork.
Now, again, and from what the leaks have said, they cut out a lot. They cut out a lot, like a lot of the more crude jokes. So I'm like, okay, if this is more of a balanced humor, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And again, the stare down, that stare down, make a move, Big Blue.
Yep.
Yeah, like that is like unbelievably cool. I love that.
And I will also say this. My guess is some of those jokes were probably a case of Gunn keeping him in there to see what he could get away with.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Keeping them in.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because it's like, and I imagine WB is probably like, no, because we can't afford to give people a reason not to watch this, because, again, a lot is riding on this Superman movie.
Yeah, like I said, there's always a case where a director will put something in there just to test the water, see what will they react. A lot of times they'll put stuff in there knowing it's going to get cut out, and then sometimes they're surprised it didn't.
By the way, so apparently, so remember the trailer, and you see Superman's eyes, he has red around his eyes? Apparently, heat vision actually hurts him.
It can't. Oh, using it so much can do that.
Or what if? Now, here's another question. What if this is like his first time using heat vision? He's not used to it yet.
Maybe, I don't know. That I don't know.
Because remember, this is year 3 Superman.
Yeah, but heat vision's usually one of the earliest to come, especially in most versions where they mix it with puberty.
That's true. That's true. So we'll see like where the origin goes in terms of, because it's like they're gonna like surface level like talk about his origin, because it's like they show the kid there. Now he's 3 years, he would have already used it. Okay, yeah, I was just saying because that, or maybe it's like they're going off because Gunn is going for a more vulnerable Superman. I mean, even he's screaming when he gets the sunlight because it's literally moving his bones around.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I know people had some issues with like a more vulnerable Superman, but I'm like, yeah, but his vulnerability changes like all the time.
Exactly. And again, yeah, the guy, and he's been pounded at everything, but if your bones are going to readjust while healing, it's going to hurt. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, and in terms of like
people says the claws hurt every time they come out.
Yeah, and it's like with like say Cavill after he was nuked, for all we know, it was just like skin reforming.
Yeah.
But still, it's like the point is it actually looked pretty dope. And again, this movie has the potential to make what WB wants it to make. the least I think it'll make is less than Man of Steel. The most is about the Batman numbers, which is where it needs to be in order to be massively successful.
Now, the big question is, will Jurassic World come out on top still, no matter what? That's the big question. Because Dominion proved it could be a trash movie, but can still come out number one. I mean, and even John Suntra put it back. Not John Suntra. John Campia put it.
Yeah.
It'll probably still be number one of the three movies.
Yeah, because again, if another example of that, Robert, Fast and the Furious or Transformers.
Exactly. They've shown that. Well, by the time Transformers got up to its seventh, it was already starting to putter out.
Yeah, but I'm just like it's one of those examples. Like even 2 made $1 billion. So
that's true. But again, who can say? Who can
yeah,
say?
I do think it's a safe bet that Jurassic World at least makes $1 billion. I'd say it's a safe bet.
Jurassic World is immune to word of mouth.
Now let me tell you this, and I was talking to Nick about this. No matter what Superman makes, if it makes more than Fantastic Four, in other words, if DC outgrosses Marvel, that is a big kick in Marvel's nuts right there.
Oh, especially when it's the first family.
Yeah, especially if it's like their big movie that they're trying to promote. Because in many ways, I've heard it said that Fantastic Four is also the deciding movie for Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wouldn't be surprised. So NJ says, I just hope they wouldn't make him too strong. I hope they really respect other heroes' power level, especially Wonder Woman, whose people tend to nerf her badly. I think what they're going to do, like this way, NJ.
Removing her flight, to be fair, she didn't have flight originally. That was given to her post-crisis.
When did they take away her flight?
No. Because they're okay where they go back and forth between can she fly, does she not fly, they always waffle. But to be fair, originally she didn't fly. That's why she had the jet.
Yeah, I still think they'll let her fly, but in terms of like power level, here's the thing, NJ. Seeing as though Gunn is going full on into like the more comic booky feel of it, I feel like it's a good bet that he'll make Wonder Woman really powerful.
Oh yeah.
So that's where I'm like, yeah, us again. It's not guaranteed he'll be like involved in that movie.
Right, exactly.
But the other thing is that he talked about.
Here's the thing, though. I don't think they're going to go for the Warrior Woman. I do not
Nope.
think Gunn's going to push them to do the Warrior Woman.
Here's what I would do. So don't do the origin, obviously, but have it with a Wonder Woman movie starts. Do the ambassadorship thing. Actually, adapt the first arc of Rucka.
Yes, exactly.
Because that gets you the action movie, that gets you the balance, but then you also see more of like the peaceful diplomat. And because I recently reread it because I got the Rucka omnibus, and when you look at how much of Wonder Woman's world is in that book, wow.
Yep. And I'll say this: don't have it be the gods are dead.
No,
sorry, that kind of wrote things into a corner when they did that.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, I think I hate to say that was a big mistake the DCEU did. Have it be that all the gods were dead.
I doubt that they would have stayed dead, but I'm
just saying, and at that point where they kept it, even by Shazam 2, that was still canon.
Yeah, I know, and yeah, that was one of the points of the Snyderverse I didn't like. I want to be clear about this. But in terms of like where it lives now, yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if they stay on with the goddesses should be key in her life and heavily involved. Yeah, they will be.
Yeah.
If they do what Robert and I were saying, the goddesses will be very involved because they were in the Rucker run again.
Yep.
But anyway, so shall we talk about Marvel? What?
Be right back. Be right back. I'm stepping away for just a second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, exactly. Cameron says, also, I know it's a quick one scene, but if we have Superman and Crypto combos like in this, that will also earn my trust with Gunn. Well, he was in the trailer. And then KHL Edit says, I'm watching this on my Switch right now. Hey, great job. That's cool. But
Okay, I'm right back. I'm right back.
all right, good. All right, yeah. So, yeah, honestly, I think we're looking pretty good. So, let's talk about the Marvel Supermen.
Yep.
So, which shall we talk about first?
Let's start with the first one, Supreme.
Marvel's one? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so
Or
Robert.
Hyperion. Hyperion. I mean, Hyperion.
Yeah, Hyperion. So Hyperion. So
Robert,
what
Yep.
this was? So
large fan with.
so for a while, DC had like this group called, Marvel had this group called the Squadron Supreme, and they were basically Marvel's version of the Justice League. And it's
Yep.
because you had Hyperion, who was like who was like, again, the very almost exactly the same origin story.
Yep, almost.
And so the interesting thing about Hyperion, yes, he has a lot of the same powers, but if you actually read his books, he's very different from Superman.
Yep. For example, here's an example. During Exile, it was revealed theoretically his whole body, if it was blown apart, could heal back together. And then all of the missing chunks could just completely heal.
Yeah, exactly. And then what you also get is like, what was kind of cool is one of my favorite arcs for Hyperion is when it was the story, it was following, I forget exactly what story it's following, but he was traveling throughout the US in a truck and helping people, and he like fought Iron Man and all that stuff.
I don't remember that one. I think that was his ongoing.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think it was, and then he hung out with Thundra, I think. But yeah, so you had that, and then excuse me.
Oh, that you also had. I bet that you also have the big Squadron Supreme Maxi series where they take over the world, but not in a injustice way.
No, they're a little more like misguided, if you will. But the funny part about it, it's Watchmen before Watchmen.
Exactly. The whole idea is a cataclysm had occurred. Now, it's not post-apocalyptic. Mankind could easily recover, but the squadron decided we will be the ones who will guide things into the future. But then they end up going too far, for example, doing brainwashing, among other things.
Yeah. So it was that. So they basically decided to take over the world, the Squadron does. And you see, unlike in Injustice where they straight up turn into villains, in Squadron Supreme, they're still like heroes, but
well-intentioned extremists.
Yeah, exactly. Like they invent a machine that can rewrite, essentially turn you in against your will into a productive member of society. Yeah, it's brainwashing.
And but you do have one guy who's like the Hawkeye, the Hawkeye or Green Arrow equivalent, turn his Mockingbird / Black Canary equivalent, that you say, oh, I love her, but she never loved me. I'm going to rewrite her so she'll love me.
Exactly. And then eventually it takes like the death of their Batman Nighthawk for them to realize, okay, you know what, we've gone too far with this.
Exactly. It's really interesting, although it's also a case where sometimes you'll have Hyperions that are full-on evil Superman, and those are usually some of their toughest enemies.
Well, remember, you had like the Squadron Sinister, as a matter of fact, where it's basically that, and then you also have like in the, I think it's called Ultimate Power thing.
Supreme Power.
Yeah, Supreme Power, where again it's Squadron Supreme, but it's essentially the Ultimate Universe equivalent of them. It's that.
Exactly, and that one, and then that led into Ultimate Power, the mini series.
Yeah, exactly.
Is 9 still a mini or is that a maxi? I always forget, when does it become a maxi?
I thought a maxi was 12.
That's at the most, but I think there was always, I think 10 might be, because 9 is pushing it, is why I'm saying that, because that was a 9-issue series.
Honestly, with me at least, a mini is 6 in my estimation.
I would say maxi is once you go from 10 upwards, what I say.
Yeah, okay. That works.
Once you get double digits.
Yeah, so the thing about Hyperion is that it's one of those examples where, like, judging a book by its cover, because again, when you look at him, he looks exactly like a Superman knockoff, but he's really not though. Like in terms of character,
and again, now,
he's not.
Yep. Yeah, in fact, he is very much like Superman when well written. It's also
exactly.
At the same time, when we get the evil one, oh no, he makes Injustice Superman look like the real deal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's
that's how bad evil Hyperion is. He makes Injustice Superman look like a legit Superman.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly. So you have him, and honestly, he's one of my. It's kind of funny. Britt and I did a comparison episode of him and Power Princess and Superman and Wonder Woman, and we're like, oh, I no wonder they have so much in common. But so then we get to the Sentry.
The Sentry,
now,
who was originally
it was a lie.
First of all, created as a joke, and I love always the behind-the-scenes joke, which was, and
Explain
they did tell Stan, and Stan gave his approval, saying, "Oh, Stan created, put this in a drawer, and never touched it till we dug it out."
Yeah, so essentially what it was is, so it was all part of, so in universe, in the Paul Jenkins series, it's revealed that the Sentry was a superhero that everyone forgot about.
Which is basically Triumph, but in the DC universe.
But Marvel also wanted to...
Marvel's what I mean. The Marvel.
They wanted to gaslight the audience and thinking, oh yeah, you did that too. So what they did is they got with Wizard Magazine and had them publish an article saying that like Art Speedman, a artist for Marvel, died, and he went uncredited and a lot of stuff. This is before the internet, so you could, this is before the internet was like the way it is today, so you could get away with this. And okay, so he created the Sentry, and then it's like, oh, they're gonna bring this character back.
Yep.
So explain more, Robert.
So they claim the Sentry is Robert Reynolds. RR, get it? And basically, the real story is he was a junkie. Thunderbolts got a lot of his story right. I'll say that. The Thunderbolts movie got a lot of his origin right.
The Sentry parts was the best part of that movie.
But I'm saying they got a lot of his origin correct. But you also have the fact that he had his enemy called the Void. Now the Void, at first in his little world, the fake world, he's believed to be a separate villain. No, he is also the Void. The Void is his inner demon. Basically, being the Sentry, he had schizophrenia. So similar to the Hulk, but even worse in that the powers gave both. It's more like Crazy Jane. Each personality had a different set of powers. So you have the good guy who's like Superman, then you have the Void, which is like the devil.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the Void would come out if Bob used his powers.
Too much, yes.
Yeah, so eventually, you had this. Then He Who Must Not Be Named comes in. Man, he has a record of ruining Superman characters. Isn't that funny? So
but in this case, he decided, what if we bring him back? Now, I'll say this. Initially, when he did it, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, but then he started trying to retcon and imply that the Void was the angel from that Bible story where, like, put all your blood on the doors like thing, and the angel of death will bypass you.
Which, of course, DC had that be the Spectre.
Yeah, but still, I'm like, okay, if that's Bob's like alternate personality, how does that work?
Exactly, that makes no sense. And then why does it look like a weird twisted monstrosity?
Yeah, exactly. It looks like because in the original miniseries, it's just a like blacked out version of the Sentry.
Just like the movie did.
But in the Avengers comic, it's straight up a demon.
Yep. I mean, Grant, I do still say the way Siege did it made it look terrifying.
Yeah, it still looked interesting, but still I'm like, that's not the Sentry, though.
But I will also say this. It kind of made sense for He Who Shall Not Be Named building up this tragedy for Bob.
Yeah, but still,
Where
it's
people
just
take advantage of him, and in the end, the only way to, I think, to be honest, when you establish what the void is, it kind of makes it that Bob was doomed, no matter what.
yeah, I get it, but it's like again, it's the whole angel of death part that I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, no, I agree. But if you remove that part,
yeah, I get what he's going for, and plus, you could say that like assuming another form is another power of the void, so it's not really like that, like
because it
unbelievable.
could warp reality. It could also warp reality. That is how through his powers, he was able to make people forget, if I recall. Or was it
Yeah.
Doctor Strange? I keep forgetting.
I think it was Strange. But anyway, so he dies at the end of Siege. Like Thor kills him and throws him in the sun. Do they explain how he comes back?
All I know is that Jeff Lemire wanted to write him, and that was it.
Yeah, but so anyway,
And then,
somehow
he died. Then he died during King in Black.
Yeah, I was getting to that. Somehow Bob Reynolds returned, and it's supposed to be like this big moment where like, oh my gosh, the Sentry's gonna kick Null's ass, and then Null just rips him in half.
Well, to be fair, he was doing to him what Sentry did to Carnage,
and to Ares.
Yeah, but more specifically Carnage, and that's what brought things full circle, because that's when He Who Shall Not Be Named. That was the reintroduction to the main continuity for Bob.
By the way, speaking of Donny Cates, I want to say I love Donny Cates' statement for the Ultimate Spider-Man. Because Donny Cates was, so those that don't know, Donny Cates was originally supposed to do the Ultimate Universe that's going right now. He had to step away. That's why Hickman did it. But his pitch for Ultimate Spider-Man was legit. Spider-Man is married with kids. Because if you have his words, if you have a contingency of fans that want Spider-Man to be married with kids, you'd be stupid not to give them what they want.
Yep. Oh, also, if you're gonna make Captain America Nazi, why can't we just make Spider-Man have kids?
Yeah, exactly. Where's your standards here?
By the way, it was the Apocalypse twins who resurrected Sentry.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so, and then Doctor Strange found him fighting the Void in a pocket dimension.
There's always a pocket dimension.
But
Sentry, I think, is the one that's the least like Superman because of like all the other stuff.
I'll be honest, I hate to say it, this is what a Marvel Superman would be like.
Maybe not with the DID stuff, but still.
Right, but this whole being afraid of what he can do with it and all that.
Well, yeah, because Marvel is the more grounded like publisher anyway, and that makes sense what you would do.
And I think, especially if this was to be a Stan Lee creation, Stan would not have him be an alien.
Well, remember, it's technically not a Stan Lee creation.
I know, but I'm saying that, but that's under the restrictions Jenkins put on himself.
Okay, that makes sense.
Have it be like what Stan would have done.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to the other character that's attributed as Marvel Superman, Gladiator.
Yep. Well, to be fair, technically he's supposed to be Mon-El. Technically.
But it's like a related thing. But
yeah,
people attribute him to it. So explain Gladiator.
Gladiator is of the Shi'ar's elite guard. All of them are meant to be based off of the Legion of superheroes. But, of course, because Gladiator is the one everyone remembers the most, he's the standout. And, yeah, he represents, like I said, Mon-El. He's practically invulnerable. Although, unlike Mon-El, he doesn't have the lead weakness. In fact, he doesn't have any weakness, to be fair. He's durable, has heat vision, super strong, and he actually punched the Enterprise. No joke.
Wait. Oh, you mean in the Marvel Star Trek crossover?
The X-Men Star Trek crossover. He punched the Enterprise, and Kirk said, "Did that thing man just punch my ship?"
That's great. I love that.
And to be fair, there's not that much to his character. He did take over the Shi'ar for a brief time after Ileandra got killed.
Mm-hmm.
But I really haven't kept up much with him because, unfortunately, unless we focus a lot on the Shi'ar, you rarely ever see him.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let me ask you this, and I'll ask the chat the same thing. Which of the Marvel Supermen, if you will, is your favorite?
I gotta be honest, Sentry for me.
With me, it's a tie between Sentry and Hyperion because Sentry, because of how similar but different he is from Superman, and like his story is like really cool and stuff. Hyperion, it's because, let me put it this way, he's a little bit, honestly, he's a little bit more in the Snyderverse Superman area, I would say.
True, but
He's not evil. He's a little more brutal, but he's not evil.
But I'll be honest, I'm more. The reason why I go with Sentry is unfortunately for Hyperion, I more see him when he's used as a villain more. And when he is a villain, like I said, he makes Injustice Superman look good.
Well, remember,
Injustice Superman, Hyperion enjoys it.
Oh, by the way, NJ has brought up another one, Blue Marvel.
I only know a little about Blue Marvel.
Yeah, me too. And by the way,
computer, hold on.
Yeah.
To my computer, hold on.
Okay, so for those of you that want a cool story that literally, okay, so hang on. All right, so,
there we go.
So for those of you that want a cool story where that literally turns the Marvel universe into the DC universe, check out Heroes Reborn.
Of course, I knew you were going to bring that up.
This is the only, by the way, this is the only omnibus as part of Jason Aaron's Avengers run that I own. And
that's the only omnibus that's been released of his run.
Well, the only one I plan on getting.
Right, because this whole run is just...
I got the first trade of it, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm not interested. The minute he did what he did to She-Hulk, I was out.
Yeah, by the way, gotta show you this. Technically, you know what technically fall under a Marvel Superman, even though it was still done at DC?
All right. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Stan Lee Superman.
Yep. Where he comes to Earth as an adult, and I love it how he is the normal of the cops. All the others have been enhanced, roided out, but he's actually able to deal with things. I love how his bad guy, well, not a loser, is still a big bold guy.
Yeah, there you go.
The fact that they gave him a wife who, now I do find it weird. We first see her in this Victorian outfit, but then later we see her more like this. It's like interesting what kind of outfits they have.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just this interesting idea, and I do kind of find this Superman to be a intriguing one, but it's also a complete and utter jackass.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, he is. Cameron says his favorite is the Sentry because of the Void and how he basically caused one of the biggest events in Marvel. The name escapes me. I think it was Siege. It was Siege. It's like he literally just flies into Asgard and blows it up.
Oh, yeah, he literally, well, that was him still as the Sentry before he became the Void, but yeah.
But here's the thing, though. In the lead up to that, it implied that most of what the Sentry does is the Void.
Well, that's true. That is true.
So I'm like, the way I kind of see it, it was still the Void. But anyway, Battlegoon says, although I love seeing JLA Avengers crossovers, I want to see the JLA versus the Squadron Supreme.
Superman!
Oh yeah, Superman's gonna body Hyperion.
Oh, look at this! Look at this!
Oh, they're recreating that cover.
Yep, and that was the late John Buscema's artwork. Look at that!
That looks really good. I love that.
Yep, and again, this was just so interesting of a book. I love the whole project in general, to be fair.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman one is really good in that.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I just want to show. But yeah, I mean, this will be my favorite if I had to pick.
Yeah, and NJ, Power Princess is Larry Diana with the same backstory and powers. That
I say the Power Princess was still Diana as the warrior before she became the warrior in the comics.
Yeah, well, yeah, but again, it's like you should have seen me. So when they were doing the Thor event, War of the Realms, and they had a tie-in that set up this, it was actually I think the way it was is that it was essentially this. And it was like, I'm watching this. By the way, so you know what's kind of funny? So I remember that tie-in came in, which introduced the Squadron Supreme, and literally that Power Princess. And I go, well, you're not exactly hiding it, aren't you, Marvel? So here's the thing. There was supposed to be a mini-series about that squadron. It got canceled, and then this.
If I remember right, wasn't it supposed to be either for that or because of COVID? I forget which it was.
It was, I think it was because of COVID. And it was kind of funny that then they repurposed all those covers and stuff for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. But anyway, so for this, it's when Phil Coulson, yes, that Phil Coulson, except he's evil in the comics. I'm explaining to them. Phil Coulson in the comics rewrites reality with the help of Mephisto. It was Mephisto all along.
Yep.
So that the Avengers never existed, but the Squadron Supreme are Marvel's premier superhero team.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I like about this event, though, is it did not interrupt anything.
No, because it's technically an Elseworlds.
Yep. All it mattered, only other books that had little tie-in issue that came up in the off weeks.
Yeah, and you can like see like Spider-Man was actually Jimmy Olsen in this universe, which I thought that was really cool. I like that one. Or Kamala Khan is Wonder Girl. So I'm like, oh, that's dope. Marvel, in terms of power scaling, generally shows the problems of super beings who are weak enough that they are subject to human problems. Squadron Supreme's original run shows the problems of power. Yeah, and that was like that is one of the best Marvel comics, I think, ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how you do politics in a comic book.
Because even then, the Squadron wasn't being evil.
No, they weren't. It was like, again, to your point, it was like they were doing what they felt was right, but they weren't like straight up oppressing people at first. And when they found out this has gone way too far, they stopped it.
Yep. And it was basically using superhero and solutions to solve mundane problems.
Yeah. And the funny part, the reason why Mark Grinwald wanted to write that is because he was a big fan of the Justice League.
But because he was so exclusive and tied to Marvel, he knew this was the only way he could do it.
Ooh. Who makes a cool team up? Cersei and Mephisto, or Cersei and Loki? Cersei and Loki.
Loki.
Cersei and Loki would be hilarious, NJ.
Hands down, Loki.
This is why I think the Squadron Supreme would be great daily events. The Squadron Sinister. Can you imagine if that's the Marvel DC crossover they would do, is have the Justice League fight the evil Squadron?
Yep.
Now that's an event right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's an event. But yeah, I mean, see, here's the thing. Arguably, I mean, Gladiator's the one that I know the least about. That's why I'm not really talking that much about him. I just had to bring him up because he's brought up when people bring up Marvel's version of Superman.
Oh yeah, he is close. Yeah,
he is close. But honestly, again, the Sentry is egging out Hyperion as number one, and it's like, even with the movie is basically this.
Mm-hmm.
The Thunderbolts version of Sentry is this, not the demon monster. This, like, even when he turns into the Void, he literally just blocks out, and it's just the eyes. And I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, that was good.
That was so scary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you find out like his entire story and everything like that, it's really, 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 really cool. It's sad that movie's not doing so well, but still, it's like, all right. I mean, it was the Thunderbolts. I still think if they had called it, like, I know it would have given it away, but they had called it the New Avengers at the beginning, maybe it would have made a little more. Maybe. But
you're right, Black Lagoon. That is how you summarize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But I actually want to read this. In Marvel, usually you have stuff like the Avengers lamenting they can't change everything and having to react to things. The Squadron Supreme's problems came due to their... Yeah, exactly. That's what would realistically happen if the Justice League, not turned evil, but just the Justice League, took over the world and tried to solve everyone's problems.
Like I said, super powered solutions for mundane problems.
And you know what's funny, Robert, when you look at it, who was the hero that basically turned against them? The Batman character. In other words, the Man character.
Yep.
So it's like, there you go. That actually worked out really well. But
then our universe got destroyed in a Crisis ripoff.
Yeah, it's basically a Crisis ripoff. And then what was cool is that, so essentially the Crisis ripoff was the Illuminati was like destroying worlds because to prevent an incursion with the main Earth. They destroyed a bunch of squadrons' worlds. So the only surviving like squadroners of that teamed up, came to the main Marvel universe, and like cut off Namor's head.
No. This is different. I'm talking about the Death of the Universe one shot.
Oh, you mean the graphic novel?
Yeah, that was a follow-up to the miniseries.
And then they undid it, I thought. Like at the end.
Well, later on,
they
not during that event, they did a later story where they undid it, but it wasn't with Grunwald.
Yeah, but anyway, but that squadron actually gets wiped out in the Crisis. So it's like, because the Power Princess, because actually what happens in that series is that there are two Power Princesses. Yep. One is the evil one from the Squadron Sinister, and the other one is the one from the miniseries. She leaves, and then the other Power Princess, the evil Power Princess, switches places with her. And drains her powers. By the way, the anti-heroes who they could be, in contrast to the crime syndicates being the JLA's evil self. You could do the whole, essentially it's like Under the Red Hood, but on a larger scale, kind of.
Right. Or kind of like Justice Lords.
Yeah, it's essentially, except again, the squadron wouldn't be necessarily evil if you don't go with the sinister versions.
Right.
So you could kind of go with that. But so what other like Superman ripoffs you guys want to talk about before we wrap up?
You want to talk about any of the DC ones, like Sentry, Majestic, or Apollo?
We can talk about Apollo. So Apollo is it. So here's the thing. Part of the reason Apollo was created so they could have a gay Superman and Batman before John. And and obviously they would like really be highlighted in the Authority series, where it's basically, again, it's kind of like they do bad stuff to bad people is the way I kind of, it's essentially they have the powers of, Apollo has the powers of Superman, but the morality of Wolverine.
Exactly.
That's kind of, if you want to really summarize it.
Then you also have Majestic, who's basically if Omni-Man was actually more heroic off the bat, but still had his warrior sensibilities up front.
Didn't he temporarily replace Superman?
Yep. He did temporarily, and that's when he actually learned to be a better hero.
All right, that works. And then obviously we went over the Stan Lee one, but let's talk about Supreme.
Supreme. You mean now?
Oh, and Icon. And Jay brings up Icon. Yes, we'll talk about him too. But let's talk about Supreme.
Yeah, Supreme was first a Rob Liefeld creation. So basically, Liefeld's take on Majestic. So let me rephrase that. He is to Liefeld what Majestic was to Jim Lee.
Yeah.
And it never took well. Never. It was like this, basically like this edgelord. He was an edgelord. It's basically the worst type of, I'm Superman, I'm going to be an asshole with these powers.
Yeah.
Then Alan Moore came around and wanted to actually reconstruct things because he was fed up with people bringing up Watchmen as a deconstruction. So we decided to have it be, all right, I'm coming on board. I'm going to have it be that some event happened. Everything got retconned, but we're going to acknowledge it in universe, the retcon. And I'm going to rearrange the Supreme to be more pre-crisis Superman-like. I'm going to give him a much more baseball Supergirl and everything. I'm going to give him all these different type of kryptonite-like rocks. I'm going to make his villain more like Luthor-like.
Yeah.
Things like that. And it took off very well because he was still telling good writing, but showing that he can do goofy, silly stuff.
Yeah, it's not just, I see, to a degree, I get why Alan Moore doesn't like Watchmen anymore, because of, in addition to being screwed by DC, it's also like, that's what he's known for now.
He hated that.
So I kind of get it. Battlegoon has a request. We'll cover Super Soldier after Icon. So Icon is like...
but then I would say, before we get to Icon, but then he ended it prematurely. Eric Larson wrapped it up. And then you know what Larson did?
What?
had it be, oh, they were dealing with such a big threat, they need to release the original Liefeld Supreme. He does so, and then he uses the equivalent of gold kryptonite on everyone else so he can be the sole Supreme.
Okay.
But now he has to operate in the Retcon Supreme's world while having his more violent tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it didn't last long before it got canceled.
Yeah, exactly. So, Icon. So, Icon is essentially the Dakota-verse version of Superman in that, again, it's a similar story where he's an alien from another planet, but he landed in the Civil War South.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. And he has all the Superman powers. So
the interesting thing is he's very conservative.
Yeah, that's what the other thing I really liked about Milestone is that they also had a lot of diversity of thought because you'd expect all of them to be liberals.
No, yeah, but no, but he's not a blind conservative.
No, but he's more like let me put it this way.
Conservative rationale more than conservative minded.
No, but still, it's like nowadays they would be like, no, nowadays the writers would go, oh, he's black, he's got to be liberal.
And thankfully they didn't go that far with the reboot, thankfully.
Well, yeah, exactly, because that would really, yeah, exactly. So, and he's honestly another really cool character that's got to prominence because you have like Young Justice, he and Rocket showed up. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Then we get Super Soldier. Now, here's the fun part about this. So, Amalgam. Super Soldier is Superman with Captain America. Is he still like an alien from another world?
No. Okay, here's what it is. It's actually Steve Rogers, but the Super Soldier serum was based off of the dead Kal-El's cells.
So basically, Superman still showed up, but he died.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
And, but then the government found him, gathered up his DNA, and made it into the Super Soldier formula.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but he can fly and everything, right?
I believe so, yes.
And isn't it also his arch enemy is the amalgam of
Lex and Red Skull, called Green Skull.
Okay, there you go. I knew it was a green thing. I was like, I was about to say Lex and Brainiac, but then I'm like, that's not amalgam then.
No. That was Galactiac or Galactus and Brainiac.
Not a bad picking, by the way. So to Jared, since you're a Wonder Woman fans, I only recently got the pun for Amazon. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, Amazon Rainforest. Nice. I like that one.
Yeah, hold on. Since we're going to be mentioning about Super Soldier, hold on. I got the comic right here.
Yep, there you go. There you go. Yes, we have Mean Horner. We talked with Supreme.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. And then NJ says, okay, Shazam is not exactly another version of Superman. It's
that's what got him in trouble in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So there's Green Skull. Yeah, there you go.
Green Skull, that's Lex and Metallo, and mixed with Red Skull.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Battle Goon says they did do a story where they merged only DC characters matchup, and they also did a story where they only matched up Marvel characters. Remember I think it was like the Super Sorcerer or like what was Captain America and Doctor Strange?
Oh, I don't remember.
Because I know Spider-Man and Moon Knight was Arachnite. I know that. Actually, you know what? I have the Infinity hardcover. I'll get that. It was from. Okay, let me see. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna have to move the sheet.
Oh, you're talking about Infinity Warps.
Yeah, that's it. Actually, no, I can pull it up.
Warp
here.
World. Hold on. I'm looking.
And then, what's Prime?
Oh, that's Malibu.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But that's more of a case of Captain, Shazam, Captain Marvel, where a young boy is able to turn into through this gooey transformation, turn into a big buff hero. But the thing is, the way it works is he's turning into what his idealized hero is. So most of the time he looks like this big, hulking guy. But then other times he actually become like a darker hero.
That's cool. Cameron says, okay, Omni-Man, Homelander, and Brightburn are another for 3 for infamous and obvious reasons. Yeah, exactly.
Brightburn, I think, is more and more fading these days.
No one even talks about Brightburn anymore.
I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was.
For what it is, it's not bad. It's interesting. I rewatched it and I go, I see what you're doing, but it's like, but did you know that James Gunn had no creative input on that movie?
None whatsoever. I thought
his name was only attached to it because his brother, because I think it was either his brother or his cousin was a director and needed the clout to get a studio to hop onto it.
That makes sense, but hey, wasn't a bad story still.
It wasn't that bad. And see, here's the thing. Well, Brightburn is basically Superman if he was a psychopath.
Well, yeah, but you know what the thing that bothers me the most about that series was that was how it became a more that it was a nurture it was the machine that turned them evil. When it's like I'd rather the story be about nurture, not nature winning out.
Yeah, because I've long said, and Robert, I know you agree with me on this, that the Kents are the most important characters in DC because it's their upbringing that makes Superman Superman because he lands as a baby.
Exactly.
That's why you have like Red Son, where he shows up and he's raised by the Soviet Union and becomes a dictator, still in many ways good, but still a dictator, but still.
Exactly.
Really and then Omni-Man, he turns good at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So
right here,
and then Homelander. I wish people would stop bringing up because here's the thing: of the Superman ripoffs, I think Homelander is the weakest.
Oh, everyone will agree to. Anyone who actually knows the characters would agree with that because the case where he is the he is a big fish in a tiny puddle.
I'm convinced that if all of the soups teamed up against Homelander, he'd be done.
Oh yeah, big time.
He'd be done. Which is kind of funny, Robert. One of my first edits was Zack Snyder's Justice League versus Homelander. As soon as I put that up, my first comment was, "Oh, Homelander's about to get curb stomped." But so I'll see what else. Mashup had Hal Grayson. All right, Ravenna. Oh, I remember.
Oh, you're talking about the Superman the
Superman
stuff where they mixed in with Titans. Like
that was cool.
Raytana or something.
Yeah, I remember. I have those issues. That was really cool.
Yeah, so that's what they were thinking of. Yeah, during that little story. Yeah.
Yeah. That would have gone on. A lot of Superman stories are nature versus nurture, except for Injustice. Anyway, what's your take on DC screwing over Shazam's publisher just because he was outselling him and even predated him?
No, that was back then. Let's acknowledge that was back then. And yeah, it was beyond petty.
Yeah, it was because like it was like this way. The way copyright law works, as far as I know, is that if it's distinct enough, you're good. Shazam is distinct enough.
Yeah, but back then it was so big. They didn't care about comics that much.
Yeah, exactly. So
they were like,
all right,
super strange, big, all this stuff. Oh, yep, he's like Superman. You win.
Yeah, exactly. Homelander is an interesting character, but I don't see him as Clark. He is more like a low-level Superman. Yeah. That's a great way to think about it. Homelander is kind of like what Superboy would turn into if he didn't leave Lex.
Exactly.
That's a fantastic way of thinking about a battle. Like, I never thought of that. Wow.
That's exactly what he is. Yeah.
Public Spirit from Martial Law.
Martial Law is an obscure book I know very little about. So basically, it's a world where all the heroes are a-holes. And think about the boys.
So it's the boys.
No, but even worse.
Oh, God.
But even worse. This is the type who basically will kill people all willy-nilly and everyone just accepts it.
By Battlegoon.
Try to put up a fake front.
Battlegoon brings up a great point. How about Homelander as a Superman villain?
Yeah, but he get old. I see him as a one-off villain, maybe a two-off.
There's no, yeah, exactly, Battlegoon, because there's no way he stands up against Superman. It's like even Kirkman saying that, like,
and his story would get old fast.
Well, here's the thing, Robert. Even Kirkman trying to say that Omni-Man would beat Superman.
It's his character.
I get you're being loyal to your character, but come on, bro.
No.
Metro Man. Who's that?
Metro Man. Hold on.
Yeah, let me see that. Oh, he's from the movie Megamind.
Yeah, from Megamind.
I never saw it.
Oh, he's fine, except for the fact that he was willing to give it all up just because he was so done being a hero.
Okay, I see. How Cameron asked the important question. How can we be worse than the boys?
Like I said, they don't even try to put up a front.
Yeah.
That's how it works. They don't even try to put up a front.
Yeah, who was the Superman Astro City?
Hold on. The Samaritan.
Okay.
Oh wait, Plutonian. Irredeemable.
Oh, what? And also Utopian.
Oh, Utopia as well, but I'm just going with the Plutonian from Irredeemable. That's a case of what if Superman had a lot of mental issues and basically kept on being sent to one screwed up family to the next.
Yeah, and by Balgoon says Macho Man is interesting as a Superman take, like if Superman completely burnt out and gave up. That's kind of what it is. I think in the hands of better writers, they could have done something cool, like maybe a threat comes that like he like he feels needed.
But then you would have taken on from Megamind to win the day. So
yeah, that's true. That's
right.
true.
But here's the thing, though, with Plutonian. Okay, here's what his upbringing. Tell me if you feel how much this would mess up a person. All right. When he first lands, he lands in the yard of a woman who picks him, who seems to take care of him. It's like, oh, I'm so grateful, but we don't. But it turns out she accidentally killed her own child that day. And then he keeps on doing all this horrible stuff, like crawling on a grill, all this stuff because it's a negligent mother. And then it keeps just driving her nuts. She commits suicide by doing it. You know, the whole, you connect the tube to the exhaust and then, put it into the car. And then he's found. He's put into different foster homes until he meets with one who's supposed to be like the Kents, where the father, here's how he drilled, like he knew about his abilities. And he decided, I'm going to make sure you do it for good. So every Christmas, they would give him Christmas gifts, or every time on his birthday, give him birthday gifts. But then he would say, now go out and give them away to other kids who actually need it. And then, but eventually, when the mom was dying of cancer, he revealed, I knew about it. Well, why didn't you tell me? Because you told me not to. Because that'll be the natural way of things. And that's when the father realized he made a monster, hung himself, and then eventually the boy grows up, becomes a news reporter, and then he's becoming this prominent hero. Everyone loves him, even though he's a nervous wreck about it. And then he decides to reveal to his Lois, I'm, Plutonian. She freaks out, runs to the tell the others on the radio, to the radio people. Well, guys, listen to what he just told me. They're about to report it. He flies up, smashes the satellite so no one else can hear. Tells them, now your lives are in danger, you idiot. Many of them commit suicide in response to that. But then, worst of all, in trying to help humanity progress, he shares some technology with a scientist. What he didn't realize is that technology almost caused a devastating disaster that with a bunch of flesh-eating a virus that they eventually did stop, but he knew it's all going to come back to him, and he cannot stand the responsibility. So of course he breaks. After all of that, can you see why he becomes as messed up as he does?
Yeah, exactly. And Mean Hornet, we're getting to that. All right, so Mark Millar has his own superhero universe that they tried to make into a Netflix show, which I gotta say, the show was not that bad.
Yep.
So it's essentially the super family, but eventually the family so his brother is a super villain that like has mind powers, and he brainwashes the son to hate Utopian, and then they kill Utopian, and it basically turns into Injustice. Like, if they had gotten to that part of the show, oh my gosh, that would have been dope.
It would have been, but and hey, the comic eventually did wrap up recently.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those. It's called Jupiter's
Legacy.
Well, the comic is called Ascending. No. That's
It
the
is
other.
Jupiter's
That's the
Legacy,
movie.
and then it was also called Jupiter's Circle as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
here's the thing, though. Originally, this was supposed to be the world of Wanted before the retcon, but then he dropped that.
Okay, I see. And by
But you do know that, because yeah.
Mean Hornet brings up
That's
Miracle
Shazam.
Man.
That's Shazam. That's Shazam.
Yeah, that's more Shazam. I was about to say. I have. He even says a magic word to turn into a superhero-ness.
Oh boy, their version of Marvel Boy though.
Mm-hmm.
That was the monster, the one who went like to the point where he finally transforms and releases the bad guy. And for a moment, he lets the one nurse that was nice to him, that was kind to him, and he's like, "You were nice to me. I'll let you live." Walks off, comes back. Actually, no. If I do that, people are gonna think I've gone soft.
Yeah.
Touches her head off before walking off.
Yeah, Pluto was. Well, yeah, there you go. What was often abused by his foster parents, his equivalent to the tension and tragedy. Yeah, and Lois cheated on him and exposed him, and he spied on his Batman. For Plutonium, when he saw humanity in the more cynical world, I would not get better. Combined with him not able to handle criticism, he snapped.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
NJ said, yeah.
Don't spoil.
Don't spoil it yet. Oh, trust me, NJ. We're going to be talking about that on Super Wonder Legacy.
Yeah, please don't spoil it for me, NJ. I am not ready yet. I'd rather go for it on my own.
Trust me. And by NJ, everything you say in there, I agree with you. But anyway, in terms of like...
I'm not looking.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll even remove the comment. How's that?
All right. Well, yep, all right. Sorry, NJ. I just don't want to be spoiled.
All good, NJ. You're not in trouble at all. Don't worry about it. Captain Thunder with his magic belt buckle.
Isn't that also Shazam XP?
Wasn't that just Flashpoint Shazam?
Hold on.
I think it was Flashpoint Shazam. At least in the movie, she called him Captain Thunder.
Yeah, but I think there have been other Captain Thunders. Okay. Yep, there have been other Captain Thunders. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
But yeah, like I said, a Miracle Man, I will definitely say though, is definitely a case of like, ugh.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. There's a lot to examine.
There is a lot to deconstruct there. No, okay, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me look this one up. There. Oh, he was a XP that was of Shazam that Elliot Magan and Kurt Swan had done for Superman 276.
Mm-hmm.
It was meant to still be a Shazam XP though.
Yeah. Battlegoon.
Right down to his name being Tornado, Hair, Uncat, Nature, Diamond, Eagle, Ram.
Okay. By the way, Battlegoon says that this might be a weird thing to ask, Jared. Nothing's weird, Battlegoon. Don't worry. DC versus vampires, in my opinion, is not good, but spoilers for the original series. It portrays Diana as the most dangerous of the vampires, physically, arguably.
Oh, that would make sense. She would be the most dangerous.
And I love her vampire design. I've seen the design. I go, that is gorgeous.
Okay. First of all, Bat Lagoon. Yeah, going down to his more recent one. Of course, becoming a vampire would make her evil. It makes everyone evil.
Yeah, for the most part. And then also,
why shouldn't it?
In the Superboy comics, DC has weird obsession with Clark meeting multiple variants of himself.
Well, yeah,
they've always done that, though. And it's okay. Yeah, exactly, NJ. We're gonna be talking about that. Trust me. But
Captain Carrot, that would count. Even though he's a little Shazam, like he eats the carrot, he is officially the Superman equivalent of his Earth.
Oh yeah, Zoo Crew. That's the Zoo Crew.
Yep. Oh, Underdog. There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
Didn't they make a movie about that, like a live action movie? I thought.
Why? Why'd you have to bring that up?
It was that bad?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. All right. But in DC vs. Vampires, arguably Damian, Harper Row, Batwoman, and Punchline do not become different in personality when vampirized.
It affects people differently.
Yeah, that it could be. I don't know. They should have explained it, though. Super Squirrel. There was a Super Squirrel?
There is. Okay. Mean Hornet, you're listing a whole bunch of stuff, but just
Yeah, that's cool though. I appreciate
you're getting
it.
obscure. You're getting a little obscure for even for us.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms of like, so let's get ready to wrap up. So in terms of this, I would say there is a lot of very weird Superman variants, but also a lot of really cool takes on the original character, because again, all these are based on Clark himself, but the way that they can like take a certain character and then change it, that's actually really, when Amalgam goes weird, Superman and Squirrel Girl. Oh my god, that would be great. Oh my god. It's his heat vision as he shoots squirrels out of his eyes.
No, those are coming from his fingertips.
Yes,
versions.
Yes. And then they shoot baby squirrels as well.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I still never understood that power.
Me neither. I'm like, what? Well, that was a Silver Age when they were giving him a ridiculous amount of powers anyway.
Just left, right, and center.
Yeah, it's like, isn't that the one where he's pulling a solar system on a chain?
Oh, yeah. Or he sneezed and knocked the whole galaxy away.
Yeah. Gag characters are always interesting. How about Squirrel Girl and SpongeBob? Yeah.
Oh, God.
Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, unite!
Well, have you ever seen the SpongeBob versus Super Friends Aquaman Death Battle? SpongeBob's feats are beyond measure. Like, he is faster than even Superman.
Yeah, when you think about it in the cartoon, he's basically
he unraveled the universe by pulling a string.
That's true. He has done a lot of that stuff. Wow. That's actually really funny. I like that.
And that only lasted like less than around a minute long.
And I take it SpongeBob won.
Yeah, big time.
Monel, and Ultra. Who's Ultra Boy?
Oh, Ultra Boy from the Legion.
Oh, okay, I see. There you go. Supergirl just summoned an army of squirrels. It is the most panel 100%. Yeah. Popeye is much stronger with suits, but he needs to consume something in order to. He's basically like Ultraman when you think about it.
There was in the death battle, he stopped One Punch Man.
Really?
Mostly you survive from Toon Logic.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You want to know the next? Oh, I would say quickly. Yeah, well.
Nightwing was the vampire lord. What are you talking about?
And they bowed down to the lords. That's why she eventually bowed down to Barbara, because she became the vampire queen.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think that's a good place to leave. We got so before we start really naming off like obscure Supermen. But so Robert, where can we find you? What have you got coming on your channel?
Link down below. Got a couple of Pro Teachers news, and again, including one was Brit going out where we're going over the Peter David Supergirl. Can't wait for you guys to see that one. And yeah.
As for me, so tomorrow is Comics League Dark. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Superman trailer, Wonder Woman movie, all the stuff that we want that because there was a lot of news. Like, my God. And Super Wonder Legacy, Britt and I are going to be doing a deep dive into Superman and Wonder Woman in the DC AMU. And let's see, what else? Oh, yeah, and movie night, we're going to... Actually, you know what? I think it's my pick again because Teladia doesn't pick anymore. So I'll come up with something. We may just do Crisis. So...
Yeah, let's get that out of the way.
Yeah. Definitely, I'm going to cut a serious mention. Okay, you know what? We're going to cover Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1, 2, and 3 all together. We'll do all three. There you go. That's movie night. And then, obviously, I have my Wonder Woman Q&A on Sundays at about 3 p.m. And, yeah, stay at work, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs with General Zod. And Steve Trevor, Steve Never, he belongs 84 feet in the ground. Zois the Max about for life. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.